So, hello everybody. It's really exciting to have you here this evening. I hope that we're going to have a really great chat around Trident Education and what they're actually doing within this space. Trident EduTech is owned by Troy Hector, and Troy's going to be sharing these amazing resources that they've created for schools. So looking at content and how teachers can really get their children engaged. So, hi, Troy. I'm really excited to be chatting with you this evening. Tell us a bit about where the idea of Trident came from.
Good evening, Dr. Walstra. Good evening, colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. So just my background very briefly. I studied engineering, worked in a very large telco for more than 20 years, around both public sector and private sector portfolios, running into the multi-billion dollars per annum. And part of the sort of interest that I always had was how we could utilize ICT, information and communication technology, to effectively improve education and the quality of education in South Africa as a whole. I was not successful in my previous company, but now that I've got my own business through Trident and in collaboration with partners like Encyclopedia Britannica, it's effectively utilizing digital resources, digital platforms, digital processes to improve the quality of education. I think the philosophy is anywhere, anyhow, and anytime. So rather than a physical analog environment, I believe very, very strongly in the digital context, which I think could make a difference, not only in South Africa, but also on a global scale at this stage. And that's my passion and keen interest at this point in time in terms of what's called digital transformation.
So that's really, really exciting in terms of trying to get engaged with and get children to really look at technology from a digital point of view and a learning point of view. Do you want to show us your website or resources on your website?
Yeah, thank you. Can I just confirm you can see the Trident EduTech website?
Can.
All right.
Yes.
So just by way of introduction, Trident Digital Enterprises is a digital internet-based business. So we currently reside on the internet. We do not have any bricks and mortar. And one of the legs of the business is called Trident EduTech. This has been done in collaboration with Encyclopedia Britannica from the UK, which has been around for more than 250 years, as well as also Vodacom. Why Vodacom? Well, Vodacom gives us access to the consumer market in South Africa. So we have both a B2B approach, business to business, which is directly with the schools. We have what is called a light touch account management, where we will engage with the headmaster or the librarian directly. But for the individual consumer, you can also consume the content via Vodacom at this stage. Now, it's not a specific bias. It's the first time globally that Britannica has afforded one of its partners, like Trident, to trial the concept of bundling their content with a mobile operator. So this is pretty much in the test phase at this point. If it does become successful in the South African context, it's quite easy to roll it out to the other mobile operators in South Africa. So it's not a bias to Vodacom. They were just very, very appealing in the beginning to bundle our services with their platform at that stage. So that effectively just the background between Britannica and Vodacom in terms of why you're seeing that in the branding on our website at this stage.
Oh, okay. And so in terms of the kinds of things that you offer, what is that and who is it for?
Right, so good question. So as said, for individuals, you can access Britannica as an individual user. There you have to be a Vodacom customer. The question often asked, what happens with a different network operator? Well, there's one or two choices here. One is you can still retain the existing number. Let's assume that you're with MTN, and you can port that number across to Vodacom. Vodacom becomes your service provider, but you still retain the same number, the 083 number, for example. The second way you can do that is by taking another subscription with Vodacom, and the prices are reasonably competitive in the marketplace. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a Vodacom employee, but those are the two ways as an individual you can get access to the Britannica content. Okay. The second way is as an institution. What do you mean by institution? That is your schools, both public and private. Secondly, it could be your TVET colleges. And thirdly, could also be your universities, the 50 universities we have in South Africa. And then the third category we have is specifically for public libraries. And here the context is if the child, the student, does not have access either at home as an individual or via their school, the institution, they can go to one of 400 public libraries across South Africa. Now, at the moment, for the record, we only available in the Free State and in the Gauteng provinces. There's about 400 libraries in totality where the Britannica content is available. So it's just a matter of going to the librarian, getting a username and password, and you've got access to the identical content that the user has at home. Sorry, Cameron.
Oh, wow. That's really great. So if you are at the moment in Free State or Gauteng, and you get a username, does that remain your username? That the child, if it's busy on a course or getting information, that login will take them each time to that child. Is that how it works in the libraries as well, like as if they were an individual or at a school?
It differs in some cases. In some cases, there's a universal username and password that is applied in some libraries. In some cases, if John Smith is a student, John Smith will have his individual username and password. But also, let me just put an underlying sort of note on this, just from personal experience. So I'm down in Cape Town at my mother's place at the moment, and recently we had stage 6 load shedding down in Cape Town. I was forced to go to one of our public libraries, and it's been years since I've been there. But anyway, I registered as a student, and I got my library access card. The only limitation that I found in Cape Town was one, you're only allowed to get 45 minutes time on the computer. And secondly, you were limited to 100 megabits per second at this point, which is not much, particularly if you were a grad master student. So that is the only limitation, unfortunately, on the public library content at this stage. If you can live within those parameters, then of course the public library service providing Britannica in the Free State and Gauteng is available today. We are trying to expand it to other parts of the country, and that is a long sales cycle, but we are in the process of attempting to get other libraries across the country to be onboarded as well.
So from an institution point of view, do you go from grade 1? So is it content from Littleys all the way up to TVET colleges, or does it start later than your beginning of school? So what age groups do you recommend use the content?
Right, very good question. So I will come to that in a moment, but just to answer your question for now, there are 4 sort of instructional designs called early elementary, which is ages 2 to 4. Secondly, there's the foundational phase, ages 5 to 11. Thirdly, there's what is called the intermediate phase, which is called ages 12 to 16. And then they have the 4th category, which is called the advanced level. That is 16 plus, which is typically your upper senior school or university level at this stage. And I'll show you in a moment what the difference between the content is at this point in time.
So do you want to show us that now, or what would you like to do?
I'll come to that in a moment. I just want to, before I get into the various offerings from Britannica, currently as Trident, there are 4 offerings that we make available. As I mentioned, the Britannica Library is just affording kids who don't have access either at school or at home. They can go to a public library. Currently, it's only available in the Free State and the Gauteng provinces at this stage. And we have exclusivity on this offering in South Africa at the moment. The second offering is called Britannica Launch Packs, and I'll take you through just very briefly what this looks like. It focuses on the humanities and sciences. And what Britannica have done very nicely is they've already pre-packaged content for the teacher. And I'll take you through an example of what that looks like. So there's a set of articles, images, and video clippings. You can take that batch of content, and effectively you can utilize that to prepare a lesson plan. If you as the teacher feel you want to add additional content, or you want to add your own annotations or notes to it, you can certainly do that. But the launch pack is ideally suited for an educator to disperse the content to a student or a syndicate of students at this stage.
And what age group are launch packs for?
Across all 4 groups that I mentioned a moment ago. So you can do it at any level at one time. It's not, although let me just make a correction on that one. Launch packs typically is not utilized at the early foundational, which is the 2 to 4, but anything from primary school into senior school into university, it's mainly applicable at that level.
Okay. Sounds good.
The third package at Britannica School, that's the umbrella offering. There's 120,000 articles available in more than 100 different languages across the platform. It supports online tools such as Microsoft Teams, as well as also Google Scholar, and that's integrated into the platform. And this was done deliberately during the COVID period, particularly where there was remote or distance learning taking place. Britannica were very kind to introduce those virtual symmetrical and asymmetrical tools into the platform. But Britannica School effectively is the umbrella product, and this effectively is where the student and the teacher will engage with most vigorously when logging on to the platform. And then the fourth offering is Britannica Image Quest. As the name suggests, it contains 3.5 million high-definition images, which you can utilize in your research writing. You have to look very, very closely, but every single image has got a citation or a reference, and there's a slight Britannica watermark on the content itself. So that image is free to use by anybody or any student. And the platform, you can download it, you can insert it into the dissertation. And the good thing about it is if you're going to utilize a certain piece of artwork, there is an appropriate citation built into that, so you can ensure you don't plagiarize it at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, that's really useful. The citations for both the articles and the images, I think that's also really important for children to learn. So knowing it's easy there to find is really great.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Walsh. So with your permission, let me now take you through the Britannica School offering and just show you what the platform looks like. I will not go through every single detail, but I just want to show you some key points. Just to confirm, you can see the Britannica School.
No, we can't yet. No. So I'm still seeing the old tab that you showed us a couple of minutes ago. So
let me just go back there again.
Cool. I don't see it yet.
Okay, just.
So while you're doing that, if I think about this resource is really useful for schools. I mean, it's Britannica. I mean, and schools have used that and trusted that for many, many years. The Britannica School page is up. But the really cool thing is that you've now got access to all of that content and the images, and they've also collated stuff together, which then makes it really useful for teachers in terms of engaging and having resources that are valid, that are tested, that are authentic, which are often difficult to find in terms of teaching. So that's really, really great.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. And to go to the Britannica School, I mentioned that there are 4 levels. So just for the record, it was in April, May last year, 2023, that Britannica launched what they call the elementary school phase. And that effectively is geared at ages 2 to 4. It's not integrated into the main platform. And one of the reasons for I understand is that the other content, the foundation and advanced, may be a little bit intimidating. So there's a different platform. And if you wish, I can do a separate demonstration on that. But for now, just to focus on foundation, intermediate, and advanced. Just a reminder, foundation is sort of your primary school level, ages 5 to 11. Intermediate is your senior school level, 12 to 16. And advanced is 16 plus, so that's upper senior school going into tertiary education at this stage. I'm going to click just on intermediate just to demonstrate. The concept is very, very similar, just the level of content is obviously geared for the age group that you are specifically at a particular point in time. So the way the content is structured, Britannica will put up something of interest in something happening in the news. Here's something called Message in a Bottle. You can click on the article and effectively it will then give you the content related to that article. Then there may be something of interest. Here they're talking about the Great Wall of China. I've been twice to this place. It's a very, very awe-inspiring experience. And there's some content relating to the Great Wall of China in China itself. This is the crux of the Britannica School platform, where you'll see Explore. You can either look at biographies, you can either look at pictures and videos, or you could look at articles. I'm going to take you through the articles just to show you what it looks like, but just to say up front, one is that these articles have been put together by an army of educators employed by Britannica, which is about 4,000 globally, effectively intended for academic purposes. So the content effectively has been peer-reviewed, it has been curated by educators, and is specifically intended for research and academic purposes, irrespective where you are across the globe. Secondly, there are more than 120,000 articles in 12 subject domains, and I'll show you those domains in a moment. Thirdly, these articles can be translated into more than 100 different languages, of which 6 South African languages are supported. And then lastly, as I mentioned, you can share the content, you can print the content, and every single one of these articles has got a citation. There are 4 citation styles, which I'll go through in a moment. And effectively, depending on what your university or school instruction is, you can decide which citation style is appropriate. So let me start off with the articles first, and just show you what that looks like. So as I mentioned, these are sort of what are the categories or the subject domains. So there's animals, art and literature, earth and geography, etc., etc. Coming from an engineering background, I'll be a little biased this evening because I'm going to choose something in the technology space. But once again, just to clarify, the content is identical. I'm going to choose something perhaps in the computer field.
So if you're a teacher, can you go and find a link or a URL that you can just share with your children, that they don't have to go through the process like you're doing? Or how would you make it easy for the children?
Well, very, very simply, once the teacher has gone through the content or done the search and found the appropriate articles, they can effectively package that into a lesson plan and effectively then allocate the lesson plan. And that's where Launchpacks comes into play. I'm not going to go through the detail this evening, but just to show you the principles. So effectively, like the teacher does a lesson plan, let's say in the manual analog fashion, it's not all available online, but the nice thing and interesting about it, it also provides you with cross-references, and I'll show you what that means in a moment. So let me choose something in the artificial intelligence space. I'm a bit of a tech nerd, so let me just go through there for a moment. All right, so here it chooses the subject of artificial intelligence, and there you can see the writing in terms of what artificial intelligence is, where it comes from, what it entails, etc., etc. And there are also some very useful hyperlinks in the article itself. Now, let me just draw your attention to the menus and the buttons that you see on the top of this article itself. So on the left-hand side, you can see a reading level 1, 2, and 3. This effectively correlates to foundation, the intermediate, and the advanced stage. So depending on the age group that you are, you can select either, say, advanced, and content will be up, and the content will be updated automatically to align with your reading and comprehension levels at this stage. And once again, you're not sort of restricted to that. If you're a child that is very inquisitive and you've got this thirst for knowledge, you're free to sort of navigate between the levels 1, 2, and 3. And that effectively is really dependent on the aptitude of the child itself.
So when you're there, the teacher's given you the link, the children see exactly the same page. So they would be able to click. Okay, great.
Absolutely. Before I come to the menus, the image, video related, and teacher, let me just focus just on the little buttons on the top right. So this little arrow button, you can effectively share this article by email. So for example, if you're working in a syndicate or cohort group at a university or school, you can just type in the name and you can effectively email this article to a colleague or a friend that's studying with you as well. So that's number 1. Number 2, you can also favorite. So if you find something of interest, you can effectively click favorite. It then stars the article, and at a later point in time, you can go back to a folder and all your star articles are there, and you can effectively reference them again. The third feature is the print function. So some people still prefer the old analog mode of doing things. You can print the document in a PDF format. So if you want to feel and touch the physical paper, it allows you to do that as well. Then the fourth feature is the citation styles. As I mentioned, depending on the instruction of the university, these are the 4 styles. There's MLA, APA Harvard, and the Chicago manual style. If, for example, we choose MLA, it's just a matter of copying that text. It even gives you the date. So, for example, today is the 29th. So that makes it very, very useful. You can just copy that and effectively put it into your reference list as well. So every single article has got a citation, as well as also the images and the videos as well on the platform. If MLA is not the preferred style, let's say you want to go Harvard, it automatically changes the format and the structure, and you can just once again click on that or copy that and effectively insert that into your Word document or whatever word processor you're utilizing. So that's the citation style. The 5th feature, which I think is very important, is the translate function. And as I mentioned, there are more than 100 different languages supported on the platform. What they've done very nicely is they've taken Google Translate and incorporated that tool into the platform. And as you can see, it starts with Afrikaans all the way at the top and goes down all the way to Zulu. So if English is not your preferred mother tongue, you can translate it, say, for example, to Zulu, and you can see the article then appears in Zulu at this stage. So in the South African context, this is a very, very powerful feature, and will be very, very useful for our students as well as also our teachers in the system at this stage. Once the child has gone through their mother tongue, they can just go click on original, go back, and the article appears back in the English language again. So the translate function is very, very useful as well. Then 6, there is also the listen function, the narrators. So if you click the little speaker button, you will get
the term artificial intelligence, AI.
Yeah, we can hear that. Yeah.
Okay. I won't go through that, but as the text highlights in yellow, the narrator reads it into your ear. And 2 things it does. 1, it obviously improves your comprehension, but also your pronunciation as well. So if you come across a particular difficult word that you haven't heard before, the narrator will actually tell you what that is, and effectively you can then listen to the narrator as well. I kind of see this tool, sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking, so from a listening point of view, I'm assuming the narration is only in English. So if you change the language, it's not going to narrate those, or is there an AI narration there?
No, at the moment, unfortunately, it's only available in English at this point in time. There are attempts to take it into Spanish and Portuguese, from what I do know, but at the moment, the de facto translation narration is in English at this stage, I'm afraid. Right?
You started saying something about you see this audio tool as something, and then I started asking a question. Did you want to go back?
Yeah, I was going to be facetious on this one. So if you are too lazy to read and you want to go lie by the pool on the beach, you can just put a set of headphones on, and effectively the article is read back to you. That was the comment.
Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So the last 2 is just really just increasing the font or decreasing the font at this stage.
That's also a nice accessibility tool. So that's really great for people who need a bigger font and stuff. So that's also useful.
The last sort of feature I want to do is just to give you these online dictionaries. So you can just double click on the word. Let's say I'm looking for the meaning of the word intelligent. You can see that interface to Merriam-Webster. It gives you the English derivation. There's also the speaker. So
intelligent.
If you want to know how to do it, if you're interested in Spanish, it also gives you the Spanish derivation as well.
Intelligent.
So those are some of the features. Now, every single one of the 120,000 articles on the platform has got the same structure, the same button format, the same reader level. It just depends on the content that you providing or reading at this point in time. Let me just go back to the menu as well. So we've gone through the text and we've gone through the features. Let me show you the complementary images and videos. So there will be some complementary images and videos. Once again, each of them will have a specific reference as well. And you can incorporate this into your project, into your assignment, in your dissertation, and also your thesis, whichever project academic work you're doing.
Really
I've mentioned early on, this is a very useful feature, the related feature. So we've chosen the topic of artificial intelligence, but what other topics can we think of in terms of artificial intelligence? Now, Alan Turing is sort of considered as the father of artificial intelligence. He was renowned for breaking the code during the World War. But other terms like computer, science fiction, robot, science, effectively, doesn't give me much here today, but these are some of the other related terms to artificial intelligence that you can digging too deeper. And then the teacher function, I'm not going to get into this in a moment, but effectively what this allows you to do is, for example, take this article on artificial intelligence and effectively compile your own curriculum. So you could take artificial intelligence, you could take virtual reality, you could take augmented reality, you could take deep learning and bundle that as a lesson plan, say, for the week, and effectively, set an exam or a quiz for the children. But this allows you then to start compiling your lectures, from the content available on the Britannica platform.
Oh, very nice. Oh, that's lovely.
So this is just one article, but I said all the articles are based on a very similar structure, very similar format, and effectively it allows you to mix and match in terms of what it is that you want to get through at this point.
Yes.
Let me just go back to the main menu again. So we've gone through the articles. I just want to, and we've gone through the pictures and videos just very briefly. Let me just take biographies so this is famous people, politicians, actors, sports people, etc. And let me just choose a South African son, let's say Nelson Mandela. And you will see that the article structure is of an identical nature and format, and of course is obviously related, in this particular case, to Nelson Mandela. So there's a few articles come up. Let me just choose the very first one. And once you can see the structure of the article is identical. So the birthplace of
Yes.
Nelson Mandela, his early life, his life in the ANC, his life in prison at Robben Island. He was obviously a Nobel Peace Prize laureate with F.W. de Klerk. Became the first Black president of South Africa, his later life, etc., etc. And you can see this is very, very useful, very informative information, specifically on, in this case, Nelson Mandela. Once again, there's a series of images that you can access.
So then in terms of what you've spoken about, is it possible to show us a bit about launch packs and how that works in relation to what you've discussed here?
Yep, no, absolutely. So let me just finish this part off, just to wrap up the Britannica school offerings. So we've gone through the articles, we've gone through the biographies, we've gone through the videos. Let me move on to the next one before I get to the launch packs. I'll leave that for last because that effectively is sort of the end product of what we're looking at this stage. So this is Britannica School, the umbrella product. Effectively, this is where the student, the teacher will engage, I think, most vociferously on a regular basis. And once again, it's intended for academic support purposes. Just a comment, and based on experience in the marketplace over the last 2-3 years, one, the Britannica content is not intended to replace the CAPS curriculum. I just want to repeat that. It's not intended to replace the CAPS curriculum. If anything, it's there to support the academic upliftment of the student and the teacher and provide them access to world-class quality content. For the record, we had attempted about 2 years ago to align the Britannica content to the CAPS curriculum. And the first difficulty that we found is we spoke to a bunch of teachers in Gauteng. We spoke to a bunch of teachers in the Western Cape. There was no alignment between what they were doing, and it would just be too expensive and too inefficient to try and align the content. So just a reminder, once again, this content is available in more than 100 different countries across the world at this point in time, and therefore the content that you receive in South Africa is identical to the UK, Japan, Afghanistan. It's the same content across the globe. So just to clarify, it's not intended.
Yeah, and I think with what you're saying makes sense. I mean, an encyclopedia was there as a resource to go to, so yes. It's exactly that. It's a learning space where you can go and find out information about the questions that you've been asked to research or to explore in a lesson. So I think that makes sense that it's not aligned to the curriculum, but obviously the curriculum topics, there would be content about them, and that might differ in how much and what it is, but that the topic would be there. I remember as a child sitting on the floor with the Encyclopedia Britannica looking for content of topics that we were doing at school just for fun and going to see what was there. And sometimes there was a lot and sometimes there was a little. And I'm assuming it's the same today.
Yeah, correct. Now, the reason why I make the comment is because and we've done probably at least about 100 of these sessions over the last 2 years, and we've had one or two occasions where teachers almost felt threatened that this Britannica content was going to be sort of taking away their jobs and their profession. And as a habit, we are just reminding that it's a complementary resource. It's not intended to replace the CAPS curriculum. You are still guided by the provincial education policy directives to ensure that there's a certain plan that you've got to get through on a weekly basis. But the content is there also to support child in additional learning in the school itself. So I thought I'd just make that comment for it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Let me just go to the next one. So this one, Britannica Image Quest, is just a very, very powerful library of more than 3.5 billion.
So we can't see Image Quest yet. We're still seeing Mandela.
Okay, so apologies. Let me just, I'll get used to this, Karen. Apologies. I just need to
no worries.
share the...
So Image Quest is this huge library of all sorts of images. And is it all the images in Britannica, or are there other images within that space as well? So
yes, so all of these images have got a particular watermark, and they've been vetted before they've been published on the platform. They've obviously collaborated with various content libraries across the world to ensure that they provide the world's best content to the platform. So on a personal note, I did a trip about 15 years ago, which I call the 7 Natural Wonders of the World trip. And I went to places like the pyramids in Giza in Egypt. I did the Great Wall of China. I did the Taj Mahal in India, etc., etc. So just to illustrate what these images look like, I'm just going to choose the 7 wonders of the world. And these are obviously the ancient wonders. There's only probably 1 or 2 of them probably still existing today. But let me just choose the Sphinx as an example. And here you can see the various buttons. You can share the art, you can share the image, you can download the image, you can increase it or add it to media, you can print it, you can also cite it. So there is a citation available, and then you can see the entire citation available. So you don't plagiarize this at all. If you want to change this, say, to a Harvard citation style, it gives you the Harvard citation. So every single image, like the text, is also a citation, or citable, shall I say, at this stage. And of course, you can also save this image to Google Drive or to your hard drive as well.
Can I ask you a question? So when you save it, does it take the citation with the saving? Do you know?
Yes, it does. Yeah, it does.
Ah, that's great. Okay.
I've played around with it, and I can tell you right now that it does take the citation with it. I've utilized it as well. So without sort of blowing my horn, I'm a student at the Wits Business School. So my academic supervisor is comfortable that I can quote from Britannica, but I get penalized if I do anything that's Wikipedia related at this stage. So that just gives you some sort of context that the content is fit for purpose when it comes to academic standards, particularly in South African context at this stage. So good people, that's just a very brief introduction on the Image Quest. Once again, 3.5 images. It's got the watermark. You've got to look very carefully to see what it is, but don't be fooled that you can just take it without getting plagiarized. So on this particular one, on the Sphinx, you probably can't see, but in the top left corner, you can actually see the Britannica logo sort of watermark.
Okay, yes.
All right. Let me get on to the final. So Britannica School and Britannica Image Quest effectively are sort of the inputs to the Britannica Launchpacks. And Launchpacks, as I've indicated, is intended specifically for the purposes of compiling your lesson plan as a teacher.
Okay.
Once again, I'm going to be very brief on this one, just in the interest of time. I'm happy to take another session, your time permitting. But can I just confirm you can see the humanities and social sciences category here, correct?
Yes, we can.
All right. So what Britannica have done, they've taken the topics of humanities and sciences and effectively pre-packaged content which may be relevant to a particular grade or particular educational institution. So rather than the teacher
going... Can I just stop you for a minute? There's a question from Twene. She's saying, I'm glad to catch you live. Are the resources free? Do you want to just address that and then carry on with how pack works?
Yes, so it's a good question. Thank you for asking that. So the way the Britannica model works, along with Trident, is that there is a license fee associated with each and every package or service that you do rent. So at the moment, as I mentioned, the offerings we have are Britannica School, number 1, 2, Britannica Image Quest, and 3 Britannica Launch Packs. And there's a combination or permutations of those packages depending on the number of students, 500 students, 800 students, and 800 plus, that effectively can be made available to you. So at an institutional level, you buy a set of licenses in bulk, and those licenses then are dispersed by an administrator at the school. Each child gets a license, each teacher gets a license, and effectively, depending on which packages you go for, either Britannica School, Image Quest, Launch Packs, you will then get access to the relevant content. So that's how the model currently works. That there is a license fee associated with that. Also, if you
go to a library or you go through Vodacom, is there a license related to that?
Yeah, so in the case of Vodacom, I was just going to touch on that. Remember, I said we've got 2 models to market. One is the B2B. So the B2B is we go to, say, a St. Stithians school, as an example. St. Stithians purchases 100 licenses. No, sorry, 500 licenses, which is the minimum, 500 licenses. They take those licenses, we give them a dedicated portal, and the administrator at the school assigns those licenses to the individual students and also the individual teachers. And that's the one way that the child or the teacher gets access to the Britannica content. Secondly, I also mentioned that we have a B2C model, a business to consumer model. So if you do not have access to Britannica either at school or at home, you can either go to a public library, or you can actually then purchase the same content in the individual capacity via Vodacom. Now, we are trialing this via Vodacom at the moment, and there are 3 packages. It's starting with Britannica School, which is $129 per annum. Okay, $129 per annum. Secondly, there's Britannica School and Britannica Image Quest, which is $159 per annum. And then for all 3 packages, Image Quest, School, and Launch Packs, it's $199 per annum. And that's if you go via the Vodacom channel at this stage. Just a reminder, we are trialing this. It's the first time that Britannica has allowed one of their partners, in this case Trident, to collaborate with a mobile operator. I come from the telecoms background, and Karen will know this very, very well. And the reason why we decided on that is because the Vodacom market, which is potentially 30 million, effectively is an additional consumer channel that we could potentially service, so combining the mobile service with the Britannica content. So it is complementary, because obviously Vodacom are looking for ways to enhance the value of their services to the market, so taking a mobile data package and bundling it with educational content. And secondly, as Trident, we are obviously looking for a channel to market, and effectively Vodacom provides us with that means at this stage. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
B2B.
Thanks, Trine. That's really great. So thanks for the question. I hope that does. But it's you've got the option of, as an individual, going in with your Vodacom account, and there is a cost, or and if you heard it, it's less than 200 Rand for the full pack for the year, if I'm understanding you correctly, Troy. Is that right?
Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. That's for the 3 packages, $199 per annum at this stage.
And then the school option also has a scale model depending on how many of the features they choose. So thanks for the question. Okay, so tell us quickly about launch packs and how that's a benefit to the teachers, please.
All right, fantastic. Once again, this is a lesson on its own, or lecture on its own, but I'm going to be very brief, maybe just show you some of the salient features. Once again, the launch packs effectively is a tool that is available to teachers in a classroom for him or her to put together a set of lesson plans based on the images available in Britannica, as well as also the articles and videos available in Britannica itself. It predominantly focuses on the humanities and sciences, and effectively it makes the work lighter for the teacher, in the sense that you don't have to go scroll through 120,000 articles to 3.5 million images. Britannica have put together that already for you. Let me just choose space, the space race, for example, and you can see there's a series of articles, images, and videos. And this will make life a lot easier for the teachers. So you can see in the red, that sort of tags the videos, the blues are the articles, the pinks are all the purples are all the images. And effectively, you can take this entire suite of content. You can add your own content if you wish as well. You can add your own annotations. And effectively, the way you will do that is effectively, you look on the top left here, we say pose questions to students. So you, as the teacher, can effectively do this quite easily. Now, it won't work in this demonstration because I just need a group of students to actually show you the full effect, but just trust me on this one at this point in time. But what you will do is you will log in as a teacher. You will get access to this particular package of content, and effectively you can then assign that to a cohort of students. How do you do that? Well, every single student in your classroom will be a license holder. Secondly, they will have an email address which your school will give them. So let's say St. Stithians, so say john@ststithians.com. So those are the two ways, and effectively that lesson plan is specifically for that particular student. The nice thing about it as well, you can actually share this lesson plan with other teachers at your institution as well. So if they think that your space race article was really, really top notch, and the other teacher maybe not be as efficient or productive as you can effectively share that content with you. Also, it's a very good idea if the teacher, for whatever reason, is not available on a particular day. Maybe they caught up ill or something like that. The teacher can step in, see what the plan is, and effectively just assign that to the students. So those are some of the benefits of the Launchpad, but this is a very, very powerful tool. Just a second question that often gets asked as well. You can also set little quizzes. Okay, so for example, when did Neil Armstrong land on the moon? For example, the student can come back and effectively it utilizes codes to do that for you, and you know what the codes sort of platform does. It then gives you the grading, and effectively it gives you a profile of a Troy Hector, for example, so you can see how the student is actually performing. The nice thing about that, depending on the appetite of the teacher, is you can then customize the lesson plan for a particular student. So if Troy is a very slow student and Dr. Walstra is a very bright student and they're in the same class, Troy made a little bit more work, so you'll get additional content and topics and quizzes to do, where Karen maybe she's already sort of mastered the sort of foundational level, maybe she can now go into the advanced level, and that's sort of the benefit that students and teachers can effectively utilize.
So you can build a differentiated model within the system as well. So, I mean, they've thought about a lot of different things in terms of assisting the teacher. And then even the way you've said, if you're an individual, there are a whole lot of things that the child can do within that space too, in terms of understanding the work if they're not at a school that uses it. So this has been really useful. Thank you, Troy.
No, you're welcome. I could speak for another hour or so, but I will be abusing my liberties at this point in time. But just to summarize, so Trident EduTech and Britannica have collaborated in the South African market to provide this educational content. Secondly, we provide the Britannica School, the umbrella product, along with the Image Quest, which is the image library. And then lastly is the Launchpad REG, which is customized specifically for educators and teachers in the market. So let me pause there. I appreciate the time and the audience afforded. Let me take any final comment and questions at this stage.
So if you think of your solution, which is offering a really great support document for your teachers, why do you think they should go with Trident EduTech? Why should a school go with your solution?
So two very good reasons for this. One is the philosophy of anywhere, anyhow, at any time. Of course, there's a very bold assumption that everybody's got access to Wi-Fi and to the internet. But what we are providing you with is access to world-class education content and material. Some of the feedback we've had over the last year is that my teacher doesn't know this, my teacher doesn't know that. This is coming from students specifically. But I think once you've got access to the Britannica content through the Trident platform, you're giving an equal chance across multiple school bodies, multiple school institutions, and perhaps even across the country at the time, even take it to the national level. So you're getting access to really good world-class educational quality. Secondly, for now, we are starting off just with the basic static content. So I've shown you what an article, what an image, and what a video looks like at this point in time.
Yes.
The next enhancement that we are going to be building into the platform over the next 2 to 3 years is augmented reality and virtual reality. So, for example, from an engineering experience, if you need to understand how an engine, a combustion engine, is put together, and how pistons and how spark plugs and how work as well, that effectively is going to be a very, very powerful tool. And there are some very, very creative solutions in the marketplace. And through Trident, we want to make that available and make it accessible to children in South Africa. Thirdly, and let me just underline this as well, there is a very bold assumption in getting access to digital content. So it's not just about the content itself or the tablet device, but there's a whole set of infrastructure behind it. There's the connectivity, there's the cloud, there's the firewall, there's the Wi-Fi connectivity. So to really get the true experience of the digital content, and we are acutely aware of this, Karen will know this from my background, that you have to put all these building blocks together.
We do.
Again, that's the reason why some of these initiatives in Gauteng, where a particular vendor, I won't mention their names, just dumped these tablet devices for the kids and expected them to utilize it, but when they went home, they couldn't because they didn't have any Wi-Fi access, as an example.
Exactly.
So when you're looking at an EduTech ecosystem, it starts with the content, the device, the fiber, the local area network, the Wi-Fi, the cloud environment, the security, and the learner management system. That has to be integrated as part of the entire solution. And that's really our strength we bring to the equation. So we are a digital player, not a bricks and mortar player, but I would like to offer that level of experience and expertise that when you do decide to go with an EduTech solution, the content and the device element is one element, but it's imperative that you do have a set of underlying building blocks. It's like when you put a car together, you can have the steering wheel and the seat, but if there's no wheels, no engine, no exhaust system, that car doesn't move at all. It's very, very similar to an EduTech solution as well.
So Trini said the individual licenses are affordable. Thanks. So she liked your answer. So I just want to say thank you for your time this evening and for sharing. I think it's a wonderful solution that schools can benefit from immensely in terms of resources and access in one space that's secure and links easily to your platforms if you're using both Google or Microsoft. So I think that's really great. So thank you very much, Troy. I really appreciate your time and for sharing this evening. I'm going to end the call. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Walstra. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.